Welcome to Feagan Finch, the podcast where we discuss everything football related. I'm Alex Finch.
And I'm Ryan Feagan. Let's talk football.
So, for this week's podcast, we decided to go into a different sphere of the footballing world and go into managers. So, we've talked about players every single week so far, and we thought this week we'd talk about managers. So, we're talking about the best managers to have graced the beautiful game since 2000, so recent history. But I think it's also worth mentioning some of the greatest managers who graced the game maybe a little bit before 2000, a little bit after, so probably aren't eligible, well, won't be one of the top managers we're talking about. And another thing myself and Ryan also agreed before this podcast is to remove Alex Ferguson from the running because
otherwise he'll just win it.
like you said, he'll just win it because he's won the most trophies out of any single manager in the history of football. So there's a clear winner there. There's no real debate. And this whole podcast is about debate and trying to agree upon the best manager in recent history. So we were taking him out for that reason, to allow the podcast to have some sort of debate. I don't know if you want to talk about any other managers before we begin our debate who maybe are just out of our era we're looking at.
I will let you take that away, Finch, my friend. I know you're itching to discuss one.
I think one manager who is close to my heart because of what he did for my team is Sir Boy Robson. There's a reason he's a Sir, not just because of his charity work, but because his outstanding contribution to football. So he was at Ipswich Town for a long period, over 10 years, where he built us back up. So we won the league back in the day under Sir Alf Ramsey. And then we went down a bit, and then Boy Robson came in. We gave him an opportunity after he managed briefly at Fulham, didn't do too well. He didn't do that well actually in the first few years at Ipswich, but we gave him time and he built us up, built a great team at Ipswich, used a lot of youth players, and we won the FA Cup. We won also a European Cup. The UEFA Cup was a lot harder to win then, and we had an outstanding team full of internationals. Most of England's back four was Ipswich Town players: Terry Butcher, Mick Mills. Terry Butcher was England's captain. Mick Mills was England's captain at one point. So that shows the type of characters Boy Robson got in his team. And every year we were second, we were third. It was a great era of Ipswich Town. We built us up. And after he left Ipswich, built the club up from a small club up to be a great one of the best clubs in England at that point. He moved on to Europe and conquered Europe. And there's not many English managers throughout history who have gone to Europe and won titles. He did it at PSV, won the Eredivisie twice, did it at Porto, won their first division twice, won other cups alongside that, and then he went to Barcelona, signed Ronaldo very young. It was potentially Ronaldo's best season he ever had. There's that famous clip where he scored that great goal, and Boy Robson had his like myself here, his hand on his head in disbelief of that goal. They won a treble that year of some sorts. They won the Super Copa, they won a Copa del Rey, they won the European Cup Winners' Cup. And his reign at Barcelona was cut short because of the club hierarchy. They put Van Gaal and they weren't very nice to him. And then he went to Newcastle in the latter part of his career. Although he didn't win a trophy there, he got into the top four pretty regularly. He did okay in the Champions League. You look back now, and it's a great achievement. They shouldn't have got rid of him because of how well he did in getting to those finishes. So I think he's definitely worth mentioning because it's not just because he's an English manager. He's close to my heart, but also he's one of the few managers which went around Europe at that. There's not many managers in that period, let alone English managers, who went around Europe and won trophies in different leagues.
No, they stayed safe in their own country.
And I haven't even mentioned that he got England to the semi-final of the World Cup in Italia 90 and brought back. Yeah. It should have got England to the final. We were the closest we've got to the final since '66 because they obviously just went out on penalties. So I think it's worth mentioning. And I also think there's a few other managers before then who were extremely good. But I think to try and keep this podcast down a little bit in terms of time because we talk all day about it, I think we've got to talk a little bit about Sir Alex, even though we're letting him loose from this podcast because obviously he's going to win no matter what. But I think you've got to talk about the greatest manager of all time. He's brought United back from basically to the Matt Busby days, and United hadn't won a trophy in years, and came in, won 38 trophies in 26 years at United, including 13 Premier League titles, 5 FA Cups, 2 Champions Leagues. He went through different eras, which is an incredible thing to do. You go through different eras of players, bring through players from the youth
Yeah.
team. Didn't spend a huge amount whilst he was at it. Got rid of players who weren't suited to United. Whilst even some players who were at their peak, like Beckham, like Ronaldo, like Ruben Nistelrooy, and Yap Stam. You let them go because he made sure the dressing room was the core and was important. Well, was the most important thing for United winning trophies. So if a player became too big for the club, he let them go.
Exactly, it was his dressing room.
And I think
it was his dressing room.
I think with Sir Alex as well, his greatness it's easy to see, but they're down for ever since.
But that's the thing. I think he left at the perfect point. I think even Sir Alex knew, he saw the cracks starting to appear in that United team. Without that,
I still think he did absolutely wonders though to win that title in the last season.
Yeah, mate, without a doubt. With the players that he had, I know he had, Robin van Persie, Wayne Rooney, but there wasn't really a lot of other talent around him.
What was their midfield? Their midfield wasn't except from Carrick, it wasn't that great, was it at all?
No, it was still, they had Anderson playing.
Darren Fletcher, maybe.
Darren Fletcher.
Tom Cleverley was a starter that season. I remember.
Tom Cleverley, the Premier League winner. A multiple-time Premier League winner.
But yeah, that shows his greatness to make those sort of teams become title winners. There's that it goes around Twitter quite a bit still often. Some of his team selections where he's beating teams by crazy scorelines, and on paper the team looks very odd. Like there's a team selection where they won was 8-1 against Arsenal, but it had like
8-2 against Arsenal.
Who they have in centre midfield? Fabio and Anderson, something like that, in centre midfield.
That's it. And that's them sort of players. I think Danny Welbeck up front.
Yeah.
It was a very, very odd team, and they still managed to beat a pretty formidable Arsenal side. 8-2.
Yeah, and so I think it's definitely worth mentioning. There's a few other managers who are probably just outside of our running as well. We can quickly go for like Jupp Heynckes, very good Bayern Munich manager, had a good career overall, and even Scolari, he had an overall good career, maybe well into also the 2000s. Obviously, won the World Cup, but I think those kind of managers are just out of the running, but they're worth a mention.
Oh, definitely worth a mention, mate. Worth a mention.
Do you want me to kick us off?
I will kick us off, my friend. It's funny that you said about Bobby Robson, because to start us off, I've got Bobby Robson's assistant from his Barcelona days. I think he had quite an impact on this young man's career. Definitely. I am talking about the special one, Jose Mourinho.
Of course.
A legend, absolute legend of the game, Jose Mourinho. He's won titles wherever he's gone, Finch. Wherever he's gone, Mourinho brings success. 2 league titles with Porto, 3 league titles with Chelsea in 2 spells, 2 league titles in Milan, 1 league title with Real Madrid, 2 Champions Leagues with Porto and Inter Milan, countless lesser trophies, I say in inverted quotation marks, Coppa del Rey, Coppa Italias, FA Cups, League Cups, Community Shields. He's got one of the greatest success win rates in Premier League history, winning 135 out of 194 games. One of the best personalities in football history. He's always got that entertaining factor about him, Finch. I think you can agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think the thing which separates Mourinho from some of the people we talk about is his tactical genius. In my opinion, I think we'll probably discuss later whether he's the greatest manager outside of Alex Ferguson in recent history. But I think one thing we might agree upon now is that I think he's the greatest tactician outside of Sir Alex Ferguson. Just purely down to tactics, he's built teams to win the best competitions out there. And the difference being Mourinho is he hasn't always had the best teams. Although he's spent since, I think he's the first manager to ever spend like £1 billion on transfers. Although he's done that, he's still built teams in the past which weren't on paper shouldn't be anywhere near like a Champions League trophy, but he built Inter Milan, built Porto, or shaped their
Hmm.
teams to win those European honors, the greatest European honor out there. And
Hmm.
I think people also forget that during those spells he's had at different clubs, he's been a trailblazer in terms of what he's done. He's not just won those trophies like Inter Milan. It was the first time, and when he won that treble of the Serie A, Coppa Italia, UEFA Champions League, it was the first time ever an Italian club had achieved that treble, which is
Oh
an
wow.
incredible feat. And there's only 5 coaches who have actually won European Cup with 2 different clubs, and he
Yeah.
made himself one of them at a very, very young age. And another thing people forget with Mourinho is people look at his start at Real Madrid probably in a lesser light than they should, because when he was at Real Madrid, Guardiola was at
Barcelona.
Barcelona, potentially with the greatest Barcelona team of all time, greatest club side
Ever
ever.
assembled, yeah.
And what Mourinho did there was absolutely incredible. He won the league, although he might not have won the Champions League. In that spell, he won the league against that Barcelona side with a
Hmm.
record points tally. So people forget how
Yeah.
good people associate Mourinho with bad football, but he's a pragmatic manager. He's not necessarily just with bad football. He'll get the most out of the players. He'll have whatever that demands to make sure they win trophies. And what he did at Real Madrid, he used the players. The players he had there were suited to beautiful football. So he played beautiful football. He scored loads of goals, and ultimately got a record points tally. And that shows how good he was with getting that record points tally against that great Barcelona team. And that's where
Mm.
he became Guardiola's sort of nemesis, I
Yeah.
think.
I agree with you 100%, Finch. Wherever he's gone, he's had that success rate. He gets the best out of the players. You know, he gets the teams exactly what they needed. I remember his second spell coming back to Chelsea, and Chelsea really lacked that goal scorer that, you know, that Drogba left. When Drogba left, Chelsea really didn't have anyone. And as soon as Mourinho come in, he saw an aging Samuel Eto'o who signed on a 1-year deal. You know, we had Demba Ba, but they didn't fill the boots that Didier Drogba that left. But in his first season with a proper transfer window, he brought in Diego Costa, who, in my opinion, is one of the greatest Chelsea strikers of all time. Costa absolutely changed the league's way of defending. The season he arrived, really, he bullied defenders, and Mourinho, Chelsea, not just Mourinho, Chelsea
Mm.
needed that. We needed that replacement for Drogba. You know, he also brought in Felipe Luis, fantastic left back, and Cesc
Fabregas.
Fabregas. Yeah, exactly. Cesc Fabregas, you know, became a Chelsea legend
Mm.
at
And
at the bridge.
yeah, completely agree. And I think it's really unfair in terms of what Mourinho's sort of recent playing style with Man United, and also like how he played in some of the Champions League games with Inter Milan, just
Mm.
using their strengths, because obviously Italian teams always have great defenses. So, and to play
Yeah,
when he was at Inter Milan, obviously when they're against Barcelona, they're not going to go full out attacking. They're going to play a pragmatic style to win. It's the only way you can win with the players he had. I think people tarnish him a bit too much with reputation of almost bad football. But when you look at that Chelsea side he had with Lampard, with Terry, with Drogba, how the power and the aggression, it was great. It was a great style of football they had. They didn't play boring football. They played really, really good football.
entertaining football week in, week out, Finch.
Yeah, and you had proper wingers going down at like Duff. You had Robin, you had Joe Cole, and you had box to box midfielders. It was a really entertaining style. It wasn't bad to
Mm-hmm.
watch at all. And
It
Terry,
wasn't boring whatsoever. We had a young manager in charge with, you know, a cocky attitude, but he could back up that attitude with the results he was getting. Finch. He called himself a special one, and he really proved it in English football.
yeah, and at Real Madrid as well. They're really good to watch. He played almost luxury
Yeah,
players when you look at them now. I think at Real Madrid under Ozil was the best he's ever been.
I was going to say that.
Di
Mesut
Maria was
Ozil
good.
probably performed his best. Mesut Ozil, probably performed his best under Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, and when you think back now, people are saying that Arsenal's a luxury player, should be playing because he's too luxury. But if Mourinho played him and got the best out of him, it's a bit weird when people say, "Oh, Mourinho's only playing like defensive players." He played Ozil and got the
Yeah,
best out of him, and that Real Madrid team were really good to watch as well. And they would have won. I think they would have won everything if Barcelona weren't around at that time.
well, that's exactly it. But you can't odds. You know, Pep Guardiola's absolutely phenomenal Barcelona side, but I'm sure that's not the last we'll hear of Pep Guardiola this podcast.
Yeah, I think we should go straight on to him because when you talk about Mourinho, it seems like you got to talk about Guardiola. They both
Yep.
managed in Spain and both came to England. So,
Yeah.
and obviously, completely different managers, completely different styles, completely different personalities. Like both big personalities. Guardiola, completely different career path. You look at Mourinho, he started at Porto, still big European club, but not up there with the likes of Madrid and Barca. And he had to win those major trophies to get a move to Chelsea. Whereas Guardiola had that playing career beforehand. Mourinho didn't. Mourinho, like you said, he actually, there's a story about Mourinho with Bobby Robson. To get into football, he had to act as Bobby Robson's translator at
Translator. That's it. Yeah.
Sporting, and then through that he sort of nudged his influence and became not only Bobby Robson's assistant latterly at Barcelona. With Guardiola, he was a great Barcelona player, so he automatically basically got Barcelona B's job, and then did well there. Went on to manage Barcelona, and although absolutely amazing achievements, got those trebles, the first Spanish side to get that treble of the La Liga, Copa del Rey, Champions League, the youngest manager to win that European competition. But the team he had, I mean, I think although he won it in amazing style, almost it wasn't transformed. He brought back Barcelona to the playing style of Johan Cruyff and put his bit of flavour on it because it was beautiful football. It's
tiki-taka.
Yeah, tiki-taka football, put his own style on it. It's won an incredible amount of trophies at Barcelona. It's almost crazy because of the two Champions Leagues he won, the leagues, the Copa del Reys. But one thing I think which you sort of have got to say is he had the best team and players in the world at that point, and potentially the best team
in every position, pretty much.
Yeah, the best team that's ever graced the club football
ever
arena.
been assembled. Finch, the starting 11 that they had was just disgusting, to be honest with you.
So, and I think a lot of coaches would have probably won leagues and Champions Leagues with that team, but obviously you can't take away from what he did. But it's just, you've got to mention that, like Messi and the greatest player ever, potentially in his peak at that point. Xavi at his peak, Iniesta at his peak, Thierry Henry, Samuel Eto'o, David Villa, some of the greatest players in the history of the game. Puyol, Piqué,
Pedro,
Dani Alves. Yeah. You just look at that
he
team.
Even made Dos Santos look amazing.
Yeah, but you just look at that team and think a lot of managers might have won there. So it sort of takes it away a little bit from me. I don't know why you shouldn't do, but I just think you just look at that team. Is it more to do with the team, how good they were, or more to do with the manager making the team look good?
It probably is the perfect mixture of everything, Finch, because you look at what Pep Guardiola has done at Barcelona, and then you transform that with, the Man City, and you see how well, he's been doing at Man City, and how, let's face it, how Man City have absolutely dominated the league. They made this league look like a farmers league the last few years, getting 100+ points, something that's never ever been done, scoring 100+ goals every single season. I get what you're saying with the whole, they definitely did have the best players in the world in their positions at that point, but Pep Guardiola played a big factor, I think.
Yeah, actually, I completely agree. That's what sort of turned my opinion. Because obviously, before I was like, Guardiola's absolutely amazing manager, but just after the Barcelona spell, I wasn't convinced whether he was one of the best managers in the history of the game because of the team he had at Barcelona. And it wasn't until he came to Man City, and I thought everyone was saying, I was one of them, can he implement that style of football, that beautiful tiki-taka in the Premier League? Can he guide success of Man City playing that type of game? But obviously, he's done a lot more than that. And the greatest thing about him, he didn't give in to immediate success. He waited a season. They didn't win the league. They just got top four. Didn't win anything. I don't think their first season. His first season in his career,
didn't win nothing.
But he sacrificed almost success in that first season. So he got his strategy and got the players suited to his game. So in the latter 2 seasons since he's been there, the last 2 seasons, they've flourished and been a team which is like I said, almost stormed the league and been the best, probably the best football the Premier League has ever seen because of that. But it couldn't have happened. Man City wouldn't be playing this football if they didn't have that adjustment period in the first season. And I don't think many teams or managers would dare to try and implement a style like that and spend a year trying to implement it with almost sacrificing success, because there's such a demand for immediate success now in the Premier League.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of managers, they wouldn't feel it's safe to do that. They'd go out, splash the cash immediately, and try and get a success straight away. But I feel like Guardiola, he might have, took a step back in a way with, the Asian squad he had. Let's be real, he still had Kolarov and Sanya,
Clichy, yeah,
as his
Sanya.
fullbacks, Finch, and you ain't going to win a Premier League title with them. Not well, you can, but not at the age they was. Not at the age they was, no chance. So I feel like
Yeah.
he took a step back, really studied the league about how teams play, because it is a lot different to La Liga, and it's a lot different to the Bundesliga as well, which we hadn't even spoke about him dominating the German league, but
Yeah.
it is Bayern Munich at the end of the day. But in the Premier League, you can't really dominate a league. You can't do that every single week. But Pep Guardiola, he seemed to make it look easy. He
Yeah.
made it every team's mission to take him out. Whenever they played him, and they just couldn't do it. They could not do it.
And like you said, they were the first. They broke loads of different records. And the first,
they
first team
18
ever to
Premier
get
League wins, 18 wins in a row, Finch. I don't think that's ever going to be broken.
no, and the first team to get those 100 league points. And this is a crazy stat which I didn't realise. I thought a team must have done this. They were the first. He's the first manager, and Man City the first team to win a domestic treble. So the FA Cup, League Cup, and Premier League. Obviously, you've seen Sir Alex's team get European trebles with Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, or with a League Cup. But I didn't realise that no team had won a domestic treble until he came in. So it shows what he's done with English football, how good it's been. And the biggest thing with his spell in England, I think that's really, really sort of ingrained his greatness. Is he dared to be great, dared to take that first season adjustment period, and it's worked wonders. Because obviously they've flourished ever since. And I think the only thing, it's almost what happened to Mourinho at Real Madrid, is he's had a great Liverpool side to compete with him, and this year is sort of taken away from his glory because of what they've done.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
also the previous year as well in the Champions League, they might have gone to win that Champions League if it wasn't for Liverpool.
No, that's the thing. That's the only thing that Pep's not got yet at Man City is that Champions League trophy. But hey, who knows? If it could have been this season, Finch, if this whole pandemic didn't stop it. But like I say, we won't know for a while about that.
Yeah, so. I do think that he's definitely one of the greatest managers of all time, and I think that is more to do with, for me, what he's done at. I think what he did at Barcelona, that put him in that position as one of the greatest managers. But I think to solidify it, I think what he's done at Man City, that has really solidified his greatness. And I think it's worth touching on what he did at Bayern Munich. Obviously, changed their playing style as well. He came there after they won the Champions League, and he won the Bundesliga every season, but never got the Champions League. So you can't really take away too much, I guess, from what he did in that league, because Bayern in that period were winning the league every year.
That's it. That's exactly it, Finch. That's exactly it. But...
So I don't know. He did do well at Bayern, but their objective when they probably got him in was win the Champions League for us again, because we expect to win the league. But Champions League, we're hiring you to win the Champions League, one of the best manager out there, let's say, at the time.
Mm-hmm. They come close, to be fair, but that Lionel Messi performance in 2015 was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I'll be honest with you. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But there's a theme about Spanish managers, Finch, being great. You've got Luis Enrique, you've got Pep Guardiola, and you've also got Vicente Del Bosque. Yeah. And he kicks us off right into the millennium. Winning La Liga 2000, 2001, won it again 2002, 2003 with the Galacticos. Absolutely phenomenal manager. His presence, along with obviously Real Madrid's board's backing, brought in the likes of Luis Figo, David Beckham, R9 Ronaldo, and Zinedine Zidane, four of the greatest ever players to ever play for Real Madrid. Just absolutely phenomenal. Another one with a great win success rate, 186 games managed for Madrid. This is obviously going back before the millennium. I'm only judging him off his success 2000 to 2016. 186 games and 104 wins in that period.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty good.
What a
pretty
manager.
good stat right there. Yeah. After Madrid, he had a bit of a poor stint at Besiktas in the Turkish league. Didn't really go for him. However, in 2008, he was offered the Spanish national team job just before Euros, but he didn't take charge until after the Euros, after that great win. And my word, did the Spanish team dominate international football for that 4-year period, Finch? Do you remember that?
Yeah, and I think it's worth going back to when he was. What people forget with Del Bosque is, like you said, his spell Real Madrid before. So winning those two, he won 2 Champions Leagues. So one in 2000, one in 2002, and won two Champions Leagues in 2 years at Real Madrid, which is an incredible feat. And when you think about, look how incredible it is, because it wasn't until 2013-14 Madrid won another Champions League.
Yeah.
And that shows how good he was. And he wasn't even supposed to be the manager of Real Madrid. He was just sort of backroom staffer for years, then took caretaker manager roles in for every here and there. So I think 1996 he took a few games, 1999 took a few games, or 1997 took a few games, and eventually when John Toshak, I think it was maybe. I think it was maybe John Toshak. I think he left the Real Madrid role and they gave it to Del Bosque.
Till Del Bosque.
Yeah, and ultimately he repaid them in terms of the trophies he won. It probably was more to do with Perez, that the players that were signing probably didn't have too much say in it.
Yeah.
But he was to get the best out of those players in the spells he was there, because ultimately that out of that Galactico, they went on and had other great players, but I think that was the proper Galactico period where they created that Galactico culture. That was their most successful period of the Galacticos, let's say, the original Galacticos, because after
under Del Bosque,
they didn't really win much until Capello. They didn't win another league till Capello came in, which was years later. So that shows how good he was to get. There's not many managers, or like we said before, Mourinho did well to get the best out of players who weren't that great. But there's not many players who can get the best out of a team which were full of superstars, because every player was full of a superstar. They had big personalities. It's probably a bit different to the Barcelona side Guardiola had, because they're great players, but they're not full of big personalities. When you look at that Real Madrid side, Beckham, massive personality, Ronaldo, massive personality, Zidane, huge, ego,
probably
huge.
The biggest personality of football, Zidane.
Yeah, so to get all of them working, it's absolutely incredible, and that's probably why Zidane's had success since, because he's probably learned from Del Bosque.
Exactly, yeah, and winning 3 Champions Leagues in a row for Zidane. He's another name that we could put on this list.
Yeah.
Definitely worth an honourable mention. But going back to Del Bosque, he had that fantastic spell at Real Madrid, but I do feel he'll go down in history for his time with the Spanish national team. Winning, that infamous World Cup win where Spain just set the tournament alight with their fantastic play, scoring some of the goals of the tournament, getting the best out of Torres, David Villa, Xavi, Iniesta, Fabregas, Puyol, Piqué, Iker Casillas. You talk about Pep Guardiola having the best in their positions. I think Spain had a great shout for saying that we've got the best players in the world in every single position. And they went on to win Euro 2012 in a quite big fashion, 4-0 in the final against Italy. A great Italian side, and to beat Italy 4-0 in a final, it just shows the dominance that Spain brought to that tournament.
Definitely, and I think the amazing thing about Del Bosque and what he did is, obviously Spain, if you talk about a golden generation, that is definitely a golden generation in terms of Barcelona club side, and then Spain international side, put them both together.
Where you had Real Madrid and Barcelona mixed, didn't you? You had the best of the best.
And you had the best club side potentially of all time, potentially the best of the modern era, definitely the best international side. There's obviously you've got great Brazil sides, but in terms of the modern era, Spain's on its own. And like I was saying, the great thing about Del Bosque is, although they won the Euros in 2008, he brought his own flavour to that team and brought through a lot of players actually which weren't playing in Euro 2008 and would define that later success. So he put his own stamp on things completely. He gave debuts to a lot of players, such as Busquets. So Busquets was the core of that 2010 World Cup,
Yeah.
2012 Euros winning side, and he wasn't a part of 2008. So it was Del Bosque that gave him that debut. So he did change the side quite a bit. He brought in the likes of Navas as well. Navas was used as a substitute a lot for Spain 2010 World Cup. I remember his pace was key. He brought through Piqué, brought through Alba, brought through Pedro.
Yep.
So all these players were given debuts by Del Bosque. Also players like Koke, Isco, Aspilicueta. Who else is there? There's Diego
Thiago.
Costa, Thiago. They were all given Nacho, Monreal. They were all given their debuts by Del Bosque. So after 2008, and that shows that although they were successful before, it was well, it wasn't completely different, but it was a very different Spanish side which got the later success in 2010 and 2012. And look,
Yeah.
that shows how good he was to continue that success and mix up the team to ensure they were a championship winning side, whether that would be in the World Cup or the Euros. Because it's crazy. You just can't believe what they did in winning everything there was to win from 2008 to 2012. It's just unprecedented. You don't win Euros back to back. You don't win the World Cup
No,
in the middle of it.
you don't dominate international football like that. You just don't. It's not something that's ever really been done before, apart from that obviously Brazilian team with Pele.
Yeah. So it's and to think of Spain never won a World Cup before that. So
No.
to do that like that shows how big of an achievement
He's
it
automatically
was.
going down in Spanish history as as their greatest ever manager.
Yeah, and he's one of the few coaches, I can't name any off the top of my head, who's won everything at club and international level in terms of winning at Real Madrid, obviously the league, the cup, the League Cup, and the Champions League, and the international level to win the Euros and the World Cup. There can't be another manager who's done that.
No, I know that Deschamps for France, he's won the World Cup, and I believe he won a league title with Marseille, if I'm not mistaken. But never ever got close to the Champions League.
Euros as well hasn't won that with France.
No, hasn't won the Euros. So there's not one. I seriously not believe there's not one. I think Del Bosque is the only one.
Yeah. So, but I think another manager who's sort of along those lines is and similar in terms of his age. So, Del Bosque was the oldest coach to win the World Cup, which shows his incredible feat again to do what he did. But a very similar coach in terms of good club success at some point, then didn't have the best spell at another club, and then obviously won the World Cup. It's Marcello Lippi from Italy. So he won the World Cup of Italy in 2006. Absolutely incredible Italian side. My first proper World Cup I watched. I don't know about you, and they obviously had Totti, Tony, Pirlo, all these great players. And although as well as winning that World Cup, he won 5 Serie A titles, and he won the Champions League as well at Juventus. And this was a little bit before the Champions League was a little bit before 2005, 96. So just creating him being a bit naughty here, getting him in. But he did win a few.
I'll let you off.
But he did win a few Serie A titles, and although he won the World Cup, and the reason I'm talking about him quite a bit is because he's unique in terms of he's been a trailblazer by being the only coach in history to win both the UEFA Champions League and the Asian Champions League.
Oh.
With Guangzhou Evergrande, I think, in China. So he won so obviously China were building their league. A lot of their clubs didn't do too much, and to do what he did there in terms of winning their equivalent to the Champions League is quite incredible.
He is fantastic. I remember Italy playing some absolutely phenomenal football at 2006 World Cup. What a defense they had as well. Absolutely crazy team they had in that 2006 World Cup.
Yeah, in terms of Maldini, Cannavaro,
Nesta.
No. Why was it Maldini just tried them, wasn't he?
Nesta, Cannavaro,
and then the midfield,
Buffon,
Ambrosini, Pirlo,
Inzaghi.
And we haven't even mentioned Del Piero.
No.
What an
An
incredible team.
absolute array. There's a legend in pretty much every single position. You had Zambrotta.
Yeah, it's an absolutely incredible team. I think Lippi getting the best out of it. Like we said with Del Bosque, golden generation of Spain, well, Italy have won the World Cup a few times, so they've had a few golden generations, but the golden generation I know,
Yeah,
certainly compared to their current generation, that is golden. That team
that's exactly,
2006.
yeah.
He got the best out of them. So I think he's another coach worth mentioning, but I think he's an incredible coach who will go down in the history of the game as one of the best. But I think he's almost got like a second grade Del Bosque because he's just didn't win the
Yeah.
same amount as Del Bosque, but obviously did incredible.
And I'm probably not lying when I say probably not as well known as the other managers that we've listed
Yeah, so
among
international managers
big
don't
football
get
fans.
that don't get
They don't get the
that
acclaim they
acclaim.
deserve. No, definitely not. Definitely not, Finch. 100%. I completely agree with that. Another great mention that I've got right here, another Italian, it is Antonio Conte.
Hmm.
That is a legend of the game himself, playing for Juventus, winning an absolutely huge amount of league titles with the old lady. Fantastic player, but that we're talking about obviously is his managerial career today. He started off winning the Italian second division with Bari, had 2 seasons there. Then went on to manage Juventus, of course, winning 3 league titles in 3 seasons. You just had AC Milan absolutely dominating the Italian scene, and here comes Antonio Conte to dethrone them, and he succeeded in that 100%. With that successful spell at Juventus, the Italian team, they wanted to get back their throne of being, World Cup champions. Didn't really pay out like Italy thought it would. Wasn't the best spell. Got a few good results though. I remember that fantastic win against Spain. And then after that comes probably one of his greatest spells at Chelsea.
First
What
season as
a
well.
his first, yeah, his first. Well, yeah, that's the main thing I want to focus on today. His first season at Chelsea was absolutely phenomenal. His passion. He brought passion back to Stamford Bridge. I remember that first match, Premier League match against West Ham, when Diego Costa scored that win. He jumped in the crowd, Finch, to celebrate. I've never seen a manager really do that before. Jump in the crowd and celebrate with the fans. That was brilliant. He brought that desire to celebrate and win again. He brought the entertainment side of things. His antics on the touchline, kicking water bottles, jumping up and down. Fantastic manager. And we had some great results in that season along the way, but it wasn't until we suffered quite a heavy loss to Arsenal at the Emirates that Conte thought, you know what, that's not good enough. We have to change things up. And he changed his tactics. He went to a 3-4-3 and then went on a 13-game winning streak, which, equaled a record back in the day. We didn't get the record, lost to Spurs, unfortunately. But what a run that was. One of the best games I've ever seen was at the Etihad against Man City, 1-0 down at halftime. Conte had his halftime talk. We come out and we absolutely annihilate Man City in their own backyard. 3-1 win. You had Costa, Willian, and Hazard on the score sheet that day, and we just tore their defence apart with the great counter-attacking play that you could do in the 3-4-3. He got the best out of Marcos Alonso. I think the best, without a doubt, the best season Victor Moses has ever had. Fantastic season for Cesc Fabregas, an amazing season for N'Golo Kante, phenomenal season for Eden Hazard, a great season for Pedro, great season for Diego Costa, a perfect season for everyone, the perfect send-off for John Terry. He really got the best out of them Chelsea players after a very lackluster 10th place finish the season before. It wasn't to be in his second spell, unfortunately. He had a lot of public troubles with our board regarding transfers. Conte was a big fan of Lukaku. Didn't work out. Ended up with a Morata. He was a big fan of Van Dijk. Didn't
Let's say
work out.
that to the better.
Yeah, big fan of Van Dijk, ended up with Rudiger. It just transfers did not go his way. He was very outspoken about it, and the board did not like that. A disappointing fifth place finish in his second spell, but he did end up getting the FA Cup win in his saying his goodbyes, but it wasn't to be, I'm afraid. Replaced by Sarri, another great Italian manager for Chelsea. But Conte definitely deserved better at Chelsea. 100% had the board have listened to him. But Chelsea board, you got to admit they're pretty ruthless with their managers.
Yeah,
and
definitely have. But I was going to say, Conte's incredible manager, but I'd probably put him in the mention category in terms of managers we're talking about, because it absolutely incredible what he's done so far. What he's done so far in his career and getting those league titles with clubs which probably won't expect to win. Chelsea definitely won't expect to win a league title at that point. But he hasn't won a Champions League, the European honours. I think you've got to win the European honours or a big international competition to be considered for this running one of the best managers.
Oh, I gave him an honorary mention just because of his influence on the Premier League. You know, he's won a lot of trophies as a manager. He had pretty much every team after he brought in the 3-4-3 playing that three at the back, the wing back setup in the Premier League. Finch after that.
Yeah, I think absolutely incredible tactician. He's sort of like Mourinho in terms of he's very pragmatic in getting the best out of players he has, and will win. He'll guarantee you winning a trophy by getting the best out of players he has, whatever playing style that is. And he's another manager like Mourinho who's unfairly tarnished with a reputation of playing a bad style of football, where he will play a style of football which gets the best out of players he has. So if he has good players like he did at Juventus, or players suited to playing good passing football, he'll play that type of football to win trophies. But if he doesn't, he'll play a different type of football. Very pragmatic. He'll bring in like Chelsea, like you said. He'll make Alonso and Victor Moses the wing backs to suit the players they have and get the results they need. And that is his tactical genius. And I think if he continues as he looks like he was doing it and building that project and getting the best, like we said before, the players he has, with bringing the likes of Victor Moses and Ashley Young, players you don't think of as potential Serie A winners and Serie A game changers, but they've done very well since going there. If he wins a title there and wins the Champions League, let's say, then he might be considered for this in the future. But at the moment, he's just out of it, just in the honourable mentions, like you said.
Exactly, just an honourable mention. That's all I was claiming. I feel like the managers that we have mentioned already probably take up this debate that we're going to have eventually of who's going to take this acclaim of being the greatest manager of the 21st century.
Yeah, I think another player, when you're talking about new playing styles, he's probably, I was going to say mentioned, but actually probably in the running because of what he's done most recently, because of what you're saying. Conte sort of had a new playing style in terms of that 3-4-3, and a lot of Premier League teams copied it after then. Similar to Klopp, because of what he's done for not just English football, world football, in terms of completely new style of play. No one knew what the Gegenpress press was before he came to Dortmund, and he brought that in, where like a team, after losing possession, they immediately attempt all together in like a pack to win back possession, rather than traditionally as football teams do, fall back and regroup. That's not what his teams do. That he brought in a complete new style of play and done it to every team he's been at, which is sort of unprecedented in our times, of bringing in completely unknown style of play. Obviously, Guardiola brought in tiki-taka, but that wasn't really anything new. He just sort of built on Cruyff's style. And other managers have been great technicians, but he brought in there's a new word for his type of play, which is that shows how good it was. And if you look at Dortmund at the time he went there, they weren't in a good position. They weren't nowhere near as good as they were now. So some of the recruitment he did there it wasn't just him. He had a good background stuff, but it was absolutely incredible, the players he brought in for basically no money, like Lewandowski, Royce, Goetze, Gundogan, Hummel. Well, some of them came through Dortmund's academy as well.
Nuri Sahin.
Yeah, and it's not Nuri Sahin, what a player he was for them. And look at his career since. He hasn't done great.
Exactly.
And it's not just the players he brought in, it's his sort of long-term sustainability at a club, in terms of making sure that if a player goes, he'll bring a replacement in. Lewandowski, when Aubameyang came in, Mkhitaryan came in for Goetze, and they were incredible players at Dortmund. And
Yeah,
they,
exactly. And then you have Mkhitaryan goes, you bring in Ousmane Dembele.
yeah, and Dortmund have done great since and sort of carry on that strategy. When Dembele went, they brought in
Yeah,
Sancho, almost getting better every
yeah,
time. But
exactly.
you just got to look at his feats at Dortmund and Liverpool to see it's not just text on paper in terms of what he's doing, bringing in this new playing style. He's actually got the trophies to back it up. So in Germany, obviously Dortmund weren't going through a good start. They hadn't won the Bundesliga in years, but in 2010, 2011, he won them the Bundesliga, and then the following season they retained it. So back-to-back
Yeah,
titles, and that season 11-12, they got their first ever domestic double, and it was also a record-breaking season because they got the most amount of points ever in a Bundesliga season at that point at 81 points, which is incredible considering they hadn't won a Bundesliga for absolute years. And it was their first time the season before, and then back-to-back titles where Bayern were a very, very good side still and were known as dominating that league. And Klopp transformed things with Dortmund, brought them back into contention with hardly any money, got those back-to-back league titles, and made Dortmund the side they are now. Where
really
they're
put them back
second,
on the map.
yeah, they're at least second to Bayern every year now, so it keeps that league competitive. And it almost helped that league generally because at that point Bayern were winning most leagues. Obviously, you had like Wolfsburg winning the odd one, different teams winning the odd league, but overall Bayern were that key force. Whereas now at least you have a bit more of a two-horse race at least every season.
Mm.
And then
yeah,
and then it's easy to forget as well because Dortmund obviously what he did there, bring them up from they were sort of mid-table. They were a mid-table side for years, and obviously had a great history and won quite a bit throughout their history, and did win. They had won the Champions League before he came there years ago, and he guided Lens to the Champions League obviously in 2013. But at that point, they hadn't won anything for a while. They were sort of trailing a little bit in mid-table, and he made them a great side again. It's easy to forget as well. Liverpool, although Rodgers got them to second in the table, they weren't in a great position when he got there. And
no,
he's transformed
2010
them completely.
onwards, Liverpool just were on a downward spiral, weren't they?
And it was literally that, because you can't really take too much away from their league finish like Rodgers' season. Although they nearly got the league title, that was almost solely down to like Suarez, then Sturridge, Sterling a little bit. But basically down to Suarez. If you take Suarez at the team, they wouldn't have won it. Rodgers was basically relying on Suarez that season. It's incredible what he's done. Because when he came to Liverpool, I wouldn't have thought in a few years' time they get back-to-back Champions League finals and win the Champions League. No way in terms of what he's done. And the playing style he's brought in is absolute domination. 2015 he came in there, and actually, like Guardiola, it took a while to implement his playing style, and he dared to be great like Guardiola and change the team completely.
Still got to the Europa League final though, didn't they?
Yeah, so that was almost immediate. It wasn't success because they didn't win it, but immediately his impact was there because obviously Europa League final.
He's showing what he can do.
Yeah, and was it League Cup final he got that year as well? They lost that, but they got to both cup finals, and then since then they've gone from strength to strength. Their recruitment's been incredible. Although they've spent some big figures, their net spend isn't big because of the likes when they sold Coutinho. They've sold a lot of players for good money, like Solanke for 20 million, Danny to 20 million.
Yeah, I don't know how they got rid of Solanke for 20 million.
Incredible recruitment, and
Jordan Ibe for like 14 million.
Yeah, and then to get Van Dijk in terms of what Van Dijk's done for their team, to get Fabinho, to make that front three as good as it is. Yeah, because when you think about it, people that say, "Oh, look how good Liverpool's front three is." Yeah, the only player before who was there when Klopp arrived was Firmino. He didn't play amazing in his first season before Klopp was there.
No.
And then Klopp came in and transformed him completely. Brought in Salah and Mane, which on paper good players like Mane, great player at Southampton. But you wouldn't have thought in a couple of years' time he'd be one of the best players in the world. So to make them that front three, he has done. He's built a team completely, almost from scratch. Brought through youth players like Trent, and he's done something unprecedented at Liverpool and getting that incredible points finish last year, which they would have won a title any other year. And this year, one way or another, they'll win a league title. Last year, win the Champions League. Then obviously he's won all the other associated European competitions when he win the Champions League, like the UEFA Super Cup and the Club World Cup. And it's just making Liverpool that really, really, really hard team to beat. It's like they had that 44 unbeaten run in the league, which is the second longest in top flight history.
Mm. Yeah, I completely agree. Finch. Klopp has really up the standards. Both him and Guardiola, it's like the Messi and Ronaldo of managers in the Premier League. Finch. They're in a league of their own up there. And it's just the old big guns. The Arsenal, United are just they're fighting for that top four finish now. It's completely changed. It's completely changed.
And the thing is with Liverpool as well is it's a bit of a different task to a lot of the other clubs. When Guardiola went to City, obviously they'd won the league before that. I think the season he came in and won the league. I think when some other, like when Mourinho went to Chelsea, it was completely from scratch. So he did something completely new because they hadn't won a league title in donkey's years. But when Klopp came to Liverpool, I think it's even different to Chelsea because at Chelsea, Mourinho had something completely from scratch. There was no reputation, there was no fear, nothing like that. Whereas at Liverpool, there was this almost fear that and reputation. They hadn't won this league and they hadn't won the Premier League, and they hadn't hadn't won the Premier League ever. And people were saying, would they ever win it after, especially Gerrard's slip? Would they ever win it? There's something happening around. There's something going on around Liverpool. Like, will they ever win the Premier League? Will they do this? Will they do that? And for Klopp to go there and do what he's done this season, and they will win the Premier League, I think, one way or another, is quite incredible because to be the first Liverpool manager to win the Premier League, and obviously they're a massive club, they've won Champions Leagues, but it just seemed like something was never going to happen in terms of them winning the Premier League. So it's an incredible feat to make them. And last season they would have won the Premier League in every year. It's easy to say that, but they would have by the points finish. And this year, when they do, if it's still an if, but it's a very, very probable situation where they win the league, it will mark Liverpool winning their first ever Premier League, which is crazy. And I think there's a psychological thing there which he's had challenges he's had to overcome, because there's something psychological in Liverpool not winning Premier League. It has to be.
Yeah, without a doubt, Finch, and like you said before, back in the 5 years ago, I thought Liverpool were just going to end up being a bit of a banter team. I thought they were going to be like the Arsenal of the 2010s. Just keep going on a downward spiral again and again. Getting their hopes up and it just completely crumbling beneath them. But Klopp has proved a lot of fans wrong. And there's a reason why Klopp had a lot of clubs chasing for him when he said that he was going to resign as Dortmund manager.
Yeah, and you look at other, like you said, other Premier League clubs like Arsenal, the amount of managers they've recruited since sort of 2015, and even United and clubs like that, very very similar clubs. They haven't. That still make Klopp stand out in terms of what he's done and slowly built Liverpool up to be that Champions League and Premier League winning side they are now, which most fans in the country don't like Liverpool. Most fans wouldn't want that situation. So to somehow build that up against all the odds is absolutely incredible. And when you look at, it makes them stand out, as I said before, when you look at what other teams have done in that same era, it is an incredible feat, and he will go down as a Liverpool legend whenever he decides to lead the club. I think it's definitely worth mentioning, and I think maybe just because he is a bit younger than some of the other candidates and he didn't have that early success, like he might not be the one we choose, but I think eventually he could, because of his charisma, his just general playing style. People are starting who hate Liverpool actually like to watch him sometimes now because of what he's done.
Exactly the same with me. Same with me. I despise Liverpool, but I love Jurgen Klopp. You can't not like Jurgen Klopp. I think he's such an enjoyable manager. His football's great. His personality is fantastic. He's always got that smile about him. He's a funny guy, Finch. He's really good in his press conferences, his post-match interviews. He's honest. He'll tell you about the officials, whether their decisions are wrong, whether his players didn't perform well. He's a very open manager, and that's what I love to hear. Like Mourinho.
The thing I really like about him, I have a little preference towards the likes of Mourinho and Klopp, who didn't have great playing careers, in terms of they weren't given the opportunity to go straight to a big club and start off. They worked themselves up from the smaller clubs or a club which weren't destined to win the great honours, implement their
Yeah.
own playing style, and have gone from there and worked wonders. Whereas other managers, Guardiola's done absolute wonders. He was at Barcelona and was his second job, and Barcelona beat straight away. So I don't know. There's something of beauty and Klopp working his way up, which I absolutely love. I do think because he is quite young, it seems like he's coming to his prime as a manager now. I think he could, maybe if he goes into another club like Real Madrid and does it there as well, or Germany wins the World Cup or Euros, I think he will go down as one of the best managers of all time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Finch. I completely agree, mate. Definitely will go down as one of the greatest of all time in the Premier League.
But was a
Even
perfect fit as well at Liverpool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they go hand in hand. Dortmund and Liverpool are very, very similar club in a way, with their fan base, very loyal fan base. The atmosphere of the ground. They're a perfect fit. You're right.
I do think it is. He might. I think he'll be a success wherever he goes. But I think he was a particular success at Liverpool because they are literally perfect for each other. He needs atmosphere. He needs energy. He needs that positive energy. And at Liverpool, you're going to get positive energy from the fans. So I think it is incredible. And another manager, which I'm sure you'll mention, who's sort of had an amazing affinity with the Civic Club, is Ancelotti.
Yeah, mate. Carlo Ancelotti, fantastic manager. Played some of the most gorgeous football at his time at Stamford Bridge. We had our record amount of goals scored in the Premier League during his spell. I think that record has been pipped now by Man City. I'm not too sure whether we still hold the record for most goals in the Premier League season, Finch. You're the stats man. Is that something we still hold?
I think it is something you still hold.
We scored a lot. We had a lot of results that ended 8-0, 7-0, 6-0. We had quite a few sevens, and obviously, win the league in style on the final day, beating Wigan 8-0. Ancelotti was a huge figure at Chelsea. Obviously, had his fantastic spell at AC Milan.
Yeah, and I think that is where he's most known. AC Milan, his great career there. That affinity there in terms of what he built up there, and it's probably AC Milan definitely one their greatest manager, potentially their greatest manager. Because at that point as well, when he was at Milan, it's easy to forget that Italy was probably a league with the best players in the world. And it's like early 2000 when you had like the likes of like Ronaldo over there and players like that. They were probably like Vieira and players like that. They were probably like the best league in the world. And that's why Italy obviously won the World Cup in 2006. Because a lot of those players played in Italy, the likes of Tony, Totti, Pirlo, and it wasn't like he was just given a great team to win everything from the start. He changed things up straight away when he went there. He made Dida. Dida's now an absolute legend, but at that time when he went there, he was known for being a player who made big howlers. He made a massive howler in the 2001 campaign against Leeds of all teams. And he made Dida his starting goalkeeper. He made Pirlo a defensive midfielder, almost a deep line playmaker. And he made either Rui Costa or Rivaldo a number 10. And then what he's most known for and what helped Milan that era probably most is getting that front two, that famous front two, Inzaghi and Shevchenko, which obviously with a dominant and dynamic striker.
Goals galore, yeah.
And then that got them those two Champions Leagues and a league title in the years he was there. And he didn't just stop when he had that team. He made them better each year, brought in the likes of Cafu, Nesta. He obviously had Maldini already, but so he had that incredible back four as it went on with Cafu, Nesta, Maldini, Jaap Stam. And when Shevchenko, and he brought in Kaká as well, an incredible player. He brought in
my favourite player of all time.
Yeah.
Ricardo
and
Kaká.
when Shevchenko left, he didn't stop there. He redesigned the team to this famous Christmas tree formation. He was a great tactician again. You'd have Seedorf and Kaká in a midfield, which also featured the great Pirlo. And then you would have, as well as them, you would have Gattuso and Ambrosini. So he made a little Christmas tree formation, which worked in wonders because they won the league. And then he
Yep.
didn't stop there. He had great affinity, like you said, he had great spot at Chelsea. And I think where's most underappreciated is at Madrid.
Real Madrid. Yeah, Real Madrid. He a really, really great season, that 2013-14 season after Mourinho had departed. Really, really fantastic spell there. He brought out, I believe, the best in Di Maria, Ancelotti.
Mm.
I don't think Di Maria has performed at his peak like he did in that season. He was unbelievable. That whole Bale, Ronaldo, Benzema trio, under Ancelotti was formidable.
And like we were saying with Liverpool, that incredible pressure for them to win a league title, and they've never done it. Obviously, never won a Premier League, and Klopp doing that is an incredible feat. It's the same thing when Ancelotti went to Madrid, of them not winning a Champions League since Del Bosque, and they needed to win that La Decima, the 10th Champions League, and he was a manager who won it in 13-14, and that absolutely incredible feat, and it made him only one of the 3 managers to have won the Champions League 3 times. So obviously won it with 2 clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only one of 2 managers, I think, to manage teams in 4 finals, which is an incredible feat. Because obviously he was an incredible Champions League manager at Milan, got to 3 Champions League finals, won it twice, and that's why I said building that defence was absolutely incredible for him, because they were a Champions League defence in what they did, and you need a solid defence to win the Champions League. Well, you need a solid defence to compete in Serie A, let alone the Champions League. But in terms of what he's done, it's incredible. And some of his spells are forgotten, like PSG won the league there. That's often forgotten as well.
Yeah, PSG won the league. Napoli, he come very close. He come close to pipping Juventus. Didn't succeed in the second season. And now, whether you'd say it would tarnish his career just a smidge, he's now managing Everton in the Premier League. Not saying that Everton aren't, a great club. They are. They've had some fantastic seasons over the years. But when you think Carlo Ancelotti, Real Madrid, Chelsea, AC Milan, Napoli, an Italian great Napoli, and then you've got Everton. It's a bit of a weird one. Just much like Jose Mourinho with Spurs, you think, are they really taking on more than they can chew?
But it'd be interesting though to see if, like what Klopp's done at Liverpool, if Ancelotti can do something great there, because I think he's going to get backed financially, because Everton have a quite a rich owner.
Yeah, they've got very rich owners.
So it'll be interesting to see what he does there, because wherever he's gone, it's been quite successful. Like, people tarnish some of his. That's the thing. That's why I think he should be in this running, because I think he is what he's done for the game in terms of winning those 2 Champions Leagues, or 3 Champions Leagues, won overall, 2 different clubs. That is greatness. Like, even Guardiola hasn't won 3 Champions Leagues, but 3 Champions Leagues. Mourinho hasn't won 3 Champions Leagues. No. He's out on his own in terms of one of the modern managers. Well, yeah, obviously has Zidane, but in terms of a couple of clubs, he's out on his own in that feat. And now to be at Everton, it's a bit odd. But I do think he has an opportunity there where he could prove himself as one of the greatest managers of all time, but doing something absolutely remarkable.
Remarkable, yeah. Doing something incredible at Everton, but time will tell with that. I think he will. Ancelotti is not a young manager. Everton don't have the best squad. I think something like that is more of a project. Whether Ancelotti is the one to start off the project, and a younger sort of manager like the Ajax manager comes in and finishes off the project. Whether it's something like that they're thinking of, but I can't. I want to see Ancelotti succeed, obviously, but I just can't really see it on the Everton side of things. But time will tell. Yeah, I said this 5 years ago with Liverpool, so time will tell.
Yeah, I think the difference is with like Everton, like what you said with Spurs with Mourinho, is Everton, you almost got to remake the whole team. There's very few players you keep them there to ultimately build a really successful project where they could win something. Whereas at Spurs, there's a core of a really good team there where you have the likes of Kane, you have Lloris, you have Vertonghen, Alderweireld, players like that who there's a few players they need obviously midfield and that, but overall they have some solid world-class players who, if you make a few big signings, they could go on and achieve something. It's a bit different. It's like almost a medium-term project at Tottenham, whereas at Everton it's a very long-term project. So that's completely see what you mean, Ancelotti, whether he's right in terms of his age to take them on to that, whereas Mourinho, probably Mourinho probably sees the likes of Kane and Vertonghen and Alderweireld. It's a very solid defence, and that's what Mourinho's always needed, a very solid defence. And having a striker like Kane up front is, if you make a few signings, they could compete.
Yeah. The Spurs are an odd one because Spurs don't really like to spend the big bucks like Mourinho does. But their whole philosophy has probably changed since Mourinho's come in.
Yeah, I think just getting Mourinho alone, it shows it's changed, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. They want to compete. They want to compete.
And I do think they are a couple of signs away, and I think they potentially that could stamp Mourinho's greatness if they did ever win like Premier League.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Mourinho probably would end up becoming the greatest. It's a tough one. It's a tough feat because obviously you got Sir Alex Ferguson, who obviously is the greatest manager of all time. But when you have someone like Jose Mourinho, who's done it countless times in the Premier League, and if he goes and does it with a side like Tottenham Hotspur, could he maybe pip his ground?
Yeah, when you look at what he did at United as well, that even getting that Europa League and League Cup and Community Shield, what they've done since they won a trophy. So it shows that he is a serial trophy winner.
He's a serial winner. Mourinho's a serial winner, and it'll be interesting to see.
I do think they have a platform. They have the likes of like a lot of good players like Ndombele, Celso, obviously Son, Lucas Moura. So they're all very good players. Yeah. So I do think there is an opportunity there if they do spend maybe 50 million.
If they upgrade the defence, if they upgrade the
50 million,
and a new keeper, I think they can go quite far.
Maybe one attacking midfielder, like world-class attacking midfielder. You get like Kai Havertz or something like that. And then, like you said, a really good left back, potentially. Right, no, I'd probably go right back.
Left back and right back, I think they're lacking.
Yeah.
And I feel that they need a whole new sort of defence. Maybe I feel like Vertonghen's really starting to age. I think he's showing his age. Alderweireld, he's still got a couple of years left in him, I think. But left back, right back, Hugo Lloris definitely has been making a lot more mistakes than what he usually has been over the years.
I still think like out of all the positions,
time's come.
Yeah, I think Lloris could do a couple more years though. I think it's one of the least.
Keepers seem to be getting older and keeping their world class status as they go on in age like fine wine. But maybe bring in a young keeper, to learn off Hugo Lloris rather than learning off someone like Michel Vorm.
Yeah. But going back to our favourite topic, back to the podcast topic.
That's great managers. We're getting to. Yep.
I think the only other one I was going to mention is Wenger, but I think his biggest impact was before 2000 in terms of.
That's the reason why I didn't put Wenger in. Obviously, an Invincibles winner, won the FA Cup in 2014, 16, 2017, sorry, and 2015. But like I said, a lot of his accomplishments come before 2000, so I don't feel like it would have been fair to put him in just for the Invincibles run.
Yeah, and he did shape English football before he came in, changes in scouting, players training, diets, completely revitalised Arsenal, and he was one of the reasons why the Premier League. Well, he is one of the reasons why the Premier League is so successful now, because he revolutionised it. But like you said, a lot of it was down to the era before 2000. I still think it's worth noting, like you said, the Invincibles early 2000 and Champions League 2006 final. And in terms of what he did when the stadium was being built and getting them top 4 every year, and spotting those talents like Fabregas, Nasri, Van Persie in those years, it is quite a big feat, but not the same as when you look at what Mourinho's done, what Guardiola's done, what Del Bosque's done that era. And I think
trophies talk.
I think we've now got to decide who that manager is, unless you want to bring anyone else in.
I was going to give a quick honorable mention. I've already given the mention to Zidane earlier on when I was talking about Mourinho. Fantastic manager. Another one who probably deserves a mention, but obviously won't get the acclaim because he hasn't really won much other than won the Liga. You got Diego Simeone. But does he really deserve to be discussed?
No,
I'd say
not for me.
he deserves a mention. Bringing that defensive style of football to Atletico Madrid, making him
Nasty
so damn hard to break down. But I don't feel like he can get this mention just yet. Obviously, he's still got a long career ahead of him, Diego Simeone.
Mm.
But time will tell. We'll come back to this podcast in 20 years, and maybe
We talk about him as a legend.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And you saying how much
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he does go and manage Argentina and they do win something, because he's someone who he needs to wear his heart on his sleeve and needs to feel that's why I think he does so well at Atletico, because his heart is within the club and he can really live with it. He lives every single minute on the football game. You see his reactions, and
exactly.
I think if he managed Argentina, it'd be the same
brilliant.
thing. I think that's why he probably hasn't moved to another club, because he knows he's more successful where his heart's in it. So I think absolutely great manager deserves a mention, but not up there with the other managers we talked about. And I'm just thinking, my pick, I'm going to put out there now, would be Del Bosque, surprisingly, over Mourinho or Guardiola, probably the favourite too. And that is because he's one, he doesn't get talked about, and he
does not get the praise he deserves, Finch. And I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I've done something possible. I'm going to agree with you right away.
Wow.
I'm going to agree with you right away.
Wow, this is the first podcast.
It's the first, yep. No debate really needed. As I was going over Del Bosque's stats, I was thinking, wow, he's really done all this at Madrid. He didn't really do much for Besiktas, but then he goes and manages, the greatest Spain squad ever assembled. Winning the World Cup, winning the Euros. He's got 2 Champions Leagues to his name, countless league titles, before 2000 and after 2000. You got to think he's really up there in the greatest managers of all time. I can't believe he was ranked outside the top 10. The ESPN done this top 10 managers of all time, and he was ranked outside it. He was number 13.
It's just, people don't appreciate the feats he had. People just think he was a great manager at Spain. People don't appreciate the feats he had at Real Madrid, getting those Galacticos together to work and win everything out.
Exactly.
He's definitely the most unappreciated manager out there. I think.
Without a doubt.
Like, if you don't talk about him as the greatest manager, definitely the most underappreciated in terms of like the world class managers. I think this is incredible that we're in agreement, because usually there's debate, and this time
it's just usually debate, but
Finch and Feagan at one, great minds think alike. Here we go.
That pretty much sums it up. Obviously you've got Guardiola, who's already a Premier League legend, Bundesliga legend, La Liga legend. As a player, he was a legend. He will go down in history as one of the greatest of all time. You've got Jose Mourinho, who will also go down as one of the greatest of all time, doing it in Italy, doing it in La Liga, doing it in England, doing it in Portugal. He's done it wherever he goes. Mourinho wins, just like Guardiola, but none of them have done it on the international stage like Del Bosque has. Del Bosque
that's a completely different arena
really
as well.
Yeah.
To do it in international, like you see someone like Lowe, Germany, great manager, but it's took him years to get that Germany team together to win one competition. That's a great feat, one competition, but for Del Bosque,
he come in and he's done it
back to backs. Incredible.
And to think he only had a year and a half with the squad before the World Cup.
Yeah, and he transformed, like I said, a great squad from the Euros. They won it obviously, but he transformed it.
Yeah, to an amazing squad.
And they almost got better every tournament until 2012, which is something. They only get better because they dominated more and more, but it absolutely incredible fit. And I think if we're in agreement on that, it's worth probably having a little debate. And I think we're going to be in agreement again, to be honest, which is crazy because this is unprecedented. It's on the second place, and I'm going to say, because I personally prefer this manager, and I think like there was a preference with Messi or Ronaldo, the same kind of thing with Mourinho and Guardiola. They were the two sort of greatest managers in that.
Jose Mourinho.
Jose Mourinho between 2007 to 2015 sort of period. They were almost the Messi, Ronaldo of managers, and Jose Mourinho is my favourite because I think when you look at teams he's managed,
mine too.
Look at teams. Look at teams Guardiola's managed. Do you think like the Barcelona team? Do you think of Guardiola as the person who defined their success, or do you think of Barcelona as like that great team? Yeah, Messi.
I think of Messi.
We look at Inter Milan. I think of and Porto and almost Chelsea. I think of Mourinho as that person who defined their success. He comes to my mind almost straight away. Whereas when I look at
Like
that Barcelona
every
team,
time that anyone speaks of the 2004, 2005, 2006 Chelsea, and they say Mourinho's Chelsea, Mourinho's
yeah,
Porto, you know, Mourinho's Inter Milan. They just say, the great Barcelona team with a peak Lionel Messi.
mm.
But
Yeah,
obviously
like
Guardiola
that's a great point.
deserves the acclaim.
Yeah, but you think about a club. I think there's two aspects to this, which Mourinho's maybe it's his personality as well. I'm trying to own a lot of the success, but in terms of what he did, it's almost a manager defining the club success rather than the club defining the manager's success. Like seems like with Barcelona, the club, all the success they had, it defined Guardiola's success rather than Guardiola defining their success. Because they talk about
Yeah,
Messi's Barcelona, best Barcelona. Then you talk about at Chelsea, Mourinho's success. What he
it's
did
not
there. It's
Drogba
different,
Chelsea
isn't
in
it? Yeah,
2004, is it?
it's different.
It's not.
It's the managers defining the club success, and that shows
Yeah,
more than anything because Chelsea at that point weren't a top four English
no,
club every year, were they?
they were getting there. They were definitely
Yeah,
getting there. Chelsea, but Mourinho transformed them from being top four to title winners and also world beaters. You think Chelsea after that? Chelsea were semi-finalists of the Champions League nearly every single year till 2009.
yeah, and they could have easily won it in one measures. And I think we're in agreement on top three then. 'Cause I think my top three would
Yep.
be Del Bosque, Mourinho, Guardiola. Although we're talking about Guardiola saying, although he sort of the club defined his success, still absolutely outstanding manager of what he's done at Man City.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely
without a doubt,
outstanding.
you
It's
can't
just
not
the
take
fine.
that away from him.
Yeah, we're just talking about the fine margin between him and Mourinho, and
Yeah,
that's all. But that's my top three, and I think it sounds like you're in
that's my
agreement.
top three too. Yeah,
Oh,
well, they're the first of the podcast.
first of the podcast, and I think, well, it seems like we can finish on a nice note with agreement,
Yeah, lovely little
which is
friendly
quite
note
nice.
there.
There's no debate at the end, which is quite good because we could have gone on for hours if we had a little
Oh,
debate
we could have
over
been
our
here
top
till
three.
it's currently nearly 11 o'clock. We could be here till 1 o'clock in the morning discussing. I'm sure.
So I think we can finish there. We've got a beautiful top three with the person who is our top pick being Vincent Del Bosque, who's completely underappreciated by the mainstream media as being the greatest manager, in our opinions, outside of Sir Alex Ferguson in the modern era. And then we have the two which are usually on those lists as one and two from like the likes of ESPN in Guardiola and Mourinho, with Mourinho second and Guardiola third. And that's the wrap.
Yep. Thanks for watching.